Very good. You could just state your name, what you do, just a little bit background on yourself.
Pat Simmons. I am the founder and president of Bikes for Christ. Bikes for Christ provides transportation organizations that work directly with clients in need. We also deal with businesses and schools for people that either they employ or are trying to get their education to help those people be able to get back and forth.
That's awesome. So, are you guys tied to a particular church, or are you just more of a Christian entity?
We're our own standalone 501c3. When I started this, I thought about it, having it as part of something else, but I realized the best way to do it is as our own standalone entity, because churches have many missions. And a lot of times those missions get lost, and I did not want that to happen to this.
Yeah, you didn't want to be like with a certain church, and they're like, "Well, our big philanthropy is this," or like. Something
Yeah, the focus. Trust me, I'm the current chair of the missions committee at my church, and focuses shift, and I didn't want the focus to be lost of this.
That's awesome. Now, how long ago did you start with this Bikes for Christ, and what made you think of it originally?
So the catalyst behind all this is I took a mission trip to Nicaragua in 2015 with my church, and my heart was changed. I saw real poverty, not what we have here, but real poverty, people that have absolutely no resources to help them out. So I came back to the community that I was born and raised in, and I wanted to do something, but I didn't know what it was. So I got involved with a couple different ministries that would do feedings and clothings, and about 6 months into that, finally, you can say the light bulb went off, or God spoke to me and said, you can help people with transportation. And so that was a perfect joining of my passion that I had developed for cycling and something that actually had purpose, and then putting the gospel aspect in there as well.
That's awesome. You've been cycling your whole life, or how did you
No,
do that?
no. I got more serious about it in roughly 2010.
Okay.
And just fell in love with it, both road and off-road. And yeah, so I was able to do something with that.
That's awesome. How did cycling come across your plate?
Well, I had bought a road bike about 5 years prior to that, and was riding that some, but it was actually an ex-girlfriend that got me into the cycling, and fallen in love in a few ways.
That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny how those things work like that, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Off topic, there's an awesome, you have Netflix?
I don't, but I can find
There's
it.
an awesome documentary called Icarus. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
Okay.
It's about this guy who's an amateur cyclist, but like, he's amateur, but they're still competing at a super high level, and they're still doing a lot of like very high level things.
Okay.
And he wanted to see, because at the time that he started competing heavy was when Lance Armstrong got caught doping.
Mm-hmm.
So he wanted to see, does doping really make that big of a difference to your game?
Gotcha.
So he hires a guy that helps him how to dope and do the levels and stuff. And then while they're filming this documentary, there's a huge twist that happens, and the documentary shifts focus. So that's the only thing I've really seen.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I'll check that out.
It'll hook you in for 2 hours. You'll sit there and just be like, wow.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Icarus. I'll definitely check it out. It's awesome.
I will do that.
But yeah, back to this. So, you start with Bikes for Christ, you get this idea. How did you start building the brand and start actually getting out there where you're able to get bikes and give them out and find certain people to give them to?
Right. So I've done a lot of marketing. I had a marketing company, internet. So that came in very handy when I started Bikes for Christ, because I was able to utilize what I knew, where other people, if they would have started out, they just printing flyers and handing them to people. So I used the power of the internet, and I posted on garage sale and yard sale sites on Facebook, hey, instead of selling your bicycle, why don't you donate it? And so that's how it started out. Now, really got everything set with the websites, the analytics, all that dialed in, and the donations really just come at this point because people can search where can I donate a bicycle? Plus, we built a lot of relationships with a lot of different organizations like yours, and people know about us, so they want to help us. So, that answer that?
Yeah. Of
Okay.
course. So, you talked a little bit about how you were able to market and get your name out there to get the bikes. How are you when you're looking for, okay, who needs these bikes? Who do I need to give these bikes to? How are you able to figure out, like, okay, Tampa Bay Academy of Hope's a good place, this is a good place? How are you able to, like, get your feet started with that?
Well, that's a great question, because unlike some other organizations that have done in the past, just handing out bicycles, I knew right away that it had to be structured, because I wanted to make sure the bicycles were going to the most deserving individuals. I didn't want us to just be giving out bikes to give out bikes. So basically, let's say Metropolitan Ministries. They have case managers working with individuals. If they feel like that individual is really trying to make life-changing decisions for the better, then they place an order with us for a bicycle. But if a person's not ready to make those changes, there's only a limited amount of bicycles there. We don't have unlimited resources, so we want there to be a vetting process to make sure the most deserving people get those bicycles. We don't want to just be giving them out and them going into the hands of somebody that's got an addiction, and they take the bike and they go down to the pawn shop or they sell it, and to feed their habit. Yeah.
So I'm assuming some of these bikes, they're not in the greatest condition. Do you guys have a process in which you maybe change the tires, or you clean them up and stuff before you end up giving them out?
Yeah, so we have a shop, and I've got 3 guys that volunteer in our shop, and there are mechanics, a lot of experience, but especially between 2 of them, long time experience on fixing bicycles, and so they do a tremendous job. I mean, sometimes it's just a matter of putting it up on the rack and just doing a quick tune-up. Other times the bike may look great. You get it up there, and you're like, oh, this is why they donated it. You find these issues, and next thing you know, you've spent an hour trying to rectify that issue. But I can say, for the most part, almost all the bikes get fixed. Now, we do have a lot of bikes that end up parts bikes as well, because the person who donated them just let the bike deteriorate too far before they donated it. I tell people we want bikes that are rideable or as close to rideable as possible. That way we don't have to put as much into them, and the turnaround time is a lot quicker to get them out to the person that needs it.
Do you guys now, let's say there's a bike they give you where the whole bike's not rideable, but there's parts of it you can take. Do you guys take parts of the bikes and maybe put them aside or anything? Or
we do, but the last thing we want is more parts bicycles. Sometimes I'll ask a few more questions when somebody's trying to donate a bicycle, and they go and I'll say, well, I really don't think we can use it. Well, can't you just use it for parts? You don't understand. We have enough parts bikes already. We've been doing this for over 7 years. There's an accumulation there. And the great thing is every now and then we do load up the trailer, take those bikes to scrap, and get that cash and put it back in the charity side.
Awesome.
Yeah. So they do get used, but the big thing is having space to store all these bicycles, and that can be difficult.
Now, although we're talking about the A's and B's right now, getting the bikes, giving them to people, besides just that fluidity, I would say, of it, are there any actual events or fundraisers you do where it's a big thing where you try to either raise money or you try to get people to come and get the bikes? There's is an event kind of?
Okay, so we're always participating in events to try to get the word out about what we do. So I mean, we have, as far as our volunteers, we have different groups, I guess I could say. I've got my guys that work in the shop. I've got a guy that does deliveries. And then we've got our volunteers that are for events. So just this Tuesday, we sponsored a mixer on behalf of the Tampa Bay Beaches Chamber of Commerce. This was out at Blind Pass between St. Pete and Treasure Island, and had between 50 and 60 people show up. And it was a great way of us further getting our mission out. And it turned into a little bit of a fundraiser as well. And yeah, it was great. So we're always trying to do stuff like that, participate in expos, markets, different thing like that, to get in front of people, not only educate them on what we're doing, but also spread the gospel message as well.
That's awesome.
And then as far as general fundraising, that goes on all the time. You know, if somebody wants to, you know, make a monetary donation, which we absolutely need, because a nonprofit, a lot of people think nonprofits run themselves.
Yeah.
They don't. They're a business like
There's no profit.
every other business, and there's an overhead you have to meet to be able to continue to do what you do. So we haven't, we need, you know, I'm still looking for that once a year big gala type event. We don't have anything like that yet.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, if you guys had something.
Yeah,
like
we
that.
don't have anything like that yet, but we did have a coach bag bingo earlier this year, which was you know, a smaller type thing, but was a success. And we had I think about 50 people there, and it turned out to be a lot of fun for everybody. So everybody was like, when are you going to do this again? How often do you do this? Well, it's the first one. We didn't know what to expect, but we'll do it again.
That's awesome.
So
Now, do you ever hear back from anybody that you guys give bikes to, and they're like, you changed my life, or anything like that? Do you ever get like feedback from, you know, people maybe a year later, or even a couple weeks later, or anything at all?
long term, it's hard to get those type of things back. One story that does come to me is that there were these two female students going to HCC in Plant City, and an order was placed for them by an agency in Plant City, and I was the one that actually took the bikes to drop off. And when I did, at that point I wanted to see, well, because they had bikes, but apparently that they rode them till they weren't rideable anymore. So I wanted to see how far those girls had been having to walk from where they were at to the HCC campus and back, and it was 4 miles both ways. So we were able to get them both bikes so they could get their education. Fast forward, one of the girls, they both graduated from HCC. One wanted to keep her bike, but the other one donated it back. And we were able to take that bike and then get it back out to another agency for someone in need. So that's pretty cool circle of life story right there.
That's really awesome. Yeah, and it's really cool to see these girls were so dedicated to get their education that even without the bikes, they were willing to walk. 'Cause that's
Right.
how much that meant to them.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Now,
absolutely.
Throughout this journey, obviously, you know, you started your own nonprofit. You're doing something, you know, somewhat of your dream. There's obviously obstacles along the way. What were some of the, I wouldn't say like hardest, but like some of the, I would say hardest, some of the hardest things that you didn't expect to be there, like some of the biggest challenges that you've had to face throughout this journey?
Well, COVID was a challenge, just like for us, just like everybody else. So what happened with that is, at that point, donations dried up because everybody was told to stay safe at home.
Don't be outside.
Well, no, you can be outside. They're telling you to be outside, but you know, don't be around other people. Get outside, get your exercise. So they all went out and dusted off those bikes that hadn't been getting used and started using them again. So donations for us dried up. So at that point, we started a retail sales program through one of our partners, Lighthouse Ministries, through their thrift store, to raise funds, where we take our highest end bicycles, fix them up, and then resell them, because putting those bikes out on the street would be a liability anyway. And what was the question again?
You know, the biggest obstacles, hardest challenges.
Okay, and then so that, you know, obviously COVID was 2020, and then 2021. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with kidney cancer. So that was
Definitely an obstacle.
yeah, that was an obstacle. You know, it's like, oh man, how's this going to keep going? Luckily, I had successful surgery. They removed a mass from my right kidney, and everything's still on track. But there was a lot of uncertainty for several months about Am I going to be able to keep this up? And then recovery was, for a guy like me that's extremely hands-on and physical, was, yeah, not supposed to lift anything heavier than 8 pounds for 4 weeks. You know, one day I go out there and I see a bike laying on the ground and I'm like, don't pick it up. You're not supposed to pick it up.
Intrusive thoughts are in your head.
Yeah, I mean it was difficult because I'm so even though I run the entire business side of things, I'm still very hands-on with the other physical stuff that goes on too. So that was hard.
Now, we talked about some of the challenges and some of the the hardships of it. What are some of the most enjoyable parts of this?
Oh, the pictures we get back, just in the stories about how the bicycle is going to impact that person and really help them in an upward trajectory. Yeah, the stories can just be amazing sometimes about the hardships that they've gone through and how the bike's going to just help their overall improvement with everything, and then pictures, sometimes you get the pictures back, they're giving you thumbs up and big smiles and, they're just ecstatic to be receiving a bicycle. So it's cool.
It's such a little thing that makes such a big difference in someone's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just had a question that just left my brain right there. No, I don't know. I'm going to reset this real quick. So let's talk a little bit about Tampa Bay Academy of Hope. How did you come along meeting us, and how did that all get started?
It's a great question. I don't remember, because it would have to be. We'd have to be. I want to say that relationship started. We work with a lot of organizations, but I would say about three years ago.
Okay.
And I believe it was just by somebody from your organization reaching out to us about placing an order. I think that's how it happened. It was I don't generally that's how relationships start.
And then you ended up, obviously, as the relationship got closer, coming here before, meeting us and talking to us.
Right. Yeah, I was here. I've done both deliveries and here, and had another time when I came down here and met the whole staff and did a photo op and stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're like a celebrity, man.
I don't know about that.
That's awesome. Now, from what you know and your knowledge of our organization, what are your thoughts on Tampa Bay Academy of Hope and what they're doing, and even using you guys to help people out as well?
To be honest, I don't know a lot about what all your organization does. I mean, I'm sure I've read about it in the past, but again, we deal with so many different.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot to keep track of.
Yeah, I understand. We basically kind of rehabilitate people back to their normal lives when they get out of prison. We also have mentoring programs where we have kids, youth that we have, like you saw when you came in, that we're trying to help them and prevent them from even ever going into the system. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So we try to do that. A lot like what you were saying though, where it's like we don't just give bikes to people. We don't just give people second chances as well. They need to show us they're committed. They need to show us that, because there's a lot of people that come out, they're like, I need a house. Like, yeah, obviously you need a house, but like, we're not just going to give you a house and then you start doing the habits that got you into jail right again, and then it looks bad on us,
Yeah.
And Mr. Reed, great example. So one guy wanted his truck license, but that's $5,000. We're not just you're not just gonna come and be like, oh, I need this. I'm like, oh, here you go. So he made him do a 90-day trial of coming here, working, and showing he was committed. And the guy did it, and then we helped him out.
Right.
So it's very similar to your aspect, where it's like we want to help people, but you need to show us that you're willing to take our help and not just use us.
Yeah, you got to have the intestinal fortitude to want to make correct whatever needs to be corrected.
Exactly. Now, before Bikes for Christ, was there any other philanthropy work or giving back work that you were involved in that kind of helped trigger your mindset to I want to do more to help people?
No.
Kind of just fell perfectly into your lap?
Yeah, like I say, it was just really eye-opening, the trip to Nicaragua, and just seeing, you got a government. Nicaragua was a former communist government, so I highly recommend anybody that wants to take a trip to the third world country and see what that's like. And since then, I've also been to Guatemala, and that's a former socialist country, and it's the same way. And I mean, it's just horrible, where you've got corrupt governments and just, again, no resources for people like we have here, especially in Hillsborough County. We have every resource to fix yourself. You just got to want to fix yourself. And so it's frustrating when you see people just hanging out, but a lot of that, now I'm going off on a tangent.
You're good.
A lot of that, has to do with years of abuse, especially drug abuse and the mental issues that would then develop because of that long-term abuse. And then it's hard to rehabilitate.
Well, it's really sad too when you talk about like Nicaragua and those places. It's like the government is super, super terrible, and then the whole country gets a bad rep. But the people that make up the country are such like beautiful and wholesome people,
Yeah.
And that's what sucks about it as well. Like, there's a lot of countries I could think of that are like that, where it's like, oh, that's a bad country. It's like, no. The government is bad. The people are great people.
Yeah. I mean, it's horrible. In Guatemala, there's this one place that we'd go called the dump. And it's just what it sounds like. It is a dump. It's where people get rid of their trash. And there's families living out there. And it's on fire. It's smoldering. And you're like, how could anyone live here? And people live there.
Yeah.
And it's just, it's just, but yeah, it's just horrible conditions. And we did feedings there, and it really just gave me a sickening feeling, just because the conditions were so horrible.
Yeah, it's sad. It makes you extremely grateful.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when people are whining, hey, little whiners, just go take a trip and go see what it's like somewhere else, and then come back and be grateful for what we have here.
Yeah, my mom always used to say, she still says, always be thankful for what you have and not upset by what you don't have. Not envious for not having something, because we have a lot more than 99% of the planet. Even though I'm not a millionaire, it's like, that's not the thing that decides what you have and what you don't have.
Yeah.
I remember actually, I was working a job about a year ago, and I was talking to, it was a police officer there, and I was bored, and I was just talking to him, and he was served in the military, and he's like, the thing that opened his eyes to like reality the most was when he went to the slums in Afghanistan. He's like, you think there's like the ghetto and hoods here, he goes, it's nowhere near the same. And he goes, and it really like put his life into perspective, and I feel like that's kind of the same thing it happened to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Any other places that you've gone to, like worldwide, to do any philanthropy, or even just?
No, there's places I want to go. Just again, COVID screwed up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of best laid plans. But yeah, there's a lot of places I want to go. Other places that we've had the opportunity to send bikes, like Haiti, we've sent bikes. And I want to go there. And for the past 3 years, we've had bicycles go to children in Liberia, Africa, through an organization. And I want to go there. Okay. Be able to be there and be the one handing those bicycles out to those kids. Yeah. So I want to do that mission. I want to be out in the mission field. Yes, and we're working towards being able to do more of that. Like I did our first gifting of bicycles on international soil on one of my trips to Guatemala. And so that's an interesting story, because the first 2 recipients of bicycles were the future pastor of the church that we were building, or having built, yes. And then the other person that received a bicycle was the former town drunk who found God and now teaches Bible study every day. Awesome. So it's like just 2 deserving individuals.
Like you kind of impacted his life and maybe helped him out.
I hope so. Yeah.
That was what I was going to ask earlier, and I completely forgot. Was you guys expand past Hillsborough County, correct? Like you're nationwide, worldwide, whoever needs it. Or?
Well, here in this area, Most of our work is predominantly Hillsborough and Pinellas County and into parts of Pasco and Polk counties. And we would have to grow a lot to be able to expand out more here. But again, I definitely want us to be doing those bicycle mission trips in the future.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm also assuming if there's an organization like in another state that reaches out to you, you guys will still find a way to help them out too.
That would be, that would be difficult. Because a lot of times I have people call, because they'll Google, we come up, and they reach out.
Really quick, I looked up Bikes 4, and it was the first thing that popped up.
Good. Well, good, because I've worked hard on that, and also I've paid a company
SEOs in there?
to help out with that. So yeah, I hope so. But yeah, so other people, say maybe in North Carolina or Texas or California, we get the calls. So I try to refer them to some of our partners that are a national, international type company, like, try, because I know they'll be in their area, like try St. Vincent de Paul, try Catholic Charities, because those two are everywhere. Try Salvation Army,
Big Salvation Army, myself.
Yeah, so.
Now, you're doing an amazing job and it's growing tremendously. What is your big picture of where you want this to go in your head? Like, where do you see Bikes for Christ being in 5 to 10 years?
Well, again, going back to doing more of the international mission work, I want us to be doing that. I want us to continue to grow here. That's difficult, because it's just difficult for me to answer. The big thing that we need right now is a new shop, because for the past 4 or 5 years we've been operating out of a 12 by 30 metal building. So there's a lot, you imagine stuff's accumulated, parts, other stuff, all our event stuff is in there as well, and then you get 3 guys in there at the same time trying to work on bikes. Man, it's crowded.
Definitely not cold either.
Huh?
Definitely not cold in there.
No, it's not. So the big building is on the radar next, and then that will in turn help us to be able to turn out more bikes. It'll also help us be able to implement more programs, like being able to have kids that need their service hours for school come in and do stuff. And also those individuals that have gotten in trouble with the law and need their service hours.
Like how that works.
Yeah, so it will allow us to do more like that, in turn turning out more bicycles and helping more people.
Yeah, I like that idea. I also feel like it could give kids another route, because being a mechanic is a very good trade.
Oh, absolutely.
People are always going to need bikes fixed. People are always going to need their cars fixed.
Yes.
That could be a great start up to a kid. And one, he's helping out the community and helping people. He's helping the Tampa Bay community be a better place, but he's also learning a craft. So I feel like that's an awesome idea.
And he may want to make a career out of it, because one of the other things, and we looked into doing this about 2 years ago, but rental space, just outrageous, is to open up our own retail bicycle shop.
That would be awesome.
And as another social enterprise program for us to be able to put money back into the charity side. So that would probably,
that's big.
That would definitely help us out and help us grow and be another source of income for us.
I like that. So that's an awesome idea.
Yeah.
And then you sell like normal bikes there, and then that money can help you get more bikes that can help you out. Yeah.
Yep.
I like that. That's all the questions I had for you. That's everything.
Okay.
I thought we had a great 26-minute conversation. Yeah. If there's any last points, notes, or shout-outs, or anything at all that you want, you just right now it's your time.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing is as we're talking about donations. We have to have the bicycles to keep this going. We have to have the monetary donations to keep this going. That's the biggest thing. We didn't touch on the website, but if people do, obviously you said you punched Bikes for Christ in, we came right up. But for people watching this, it's bikes, the number 4, Christ.com. or just Google it. It better come up. But yeah, really, I think, great interview.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know how much time you have.